That just keeps on giving. Everyone picking sides in the Greg Berhalter versus Gio Reyna controversy. Borussia Dortmund, Gio's club, making it clear who they back. Dortmund sporting director Sebastian Kehl. Quote, the reporting on Gio Reyna surprised us a lot. We see him as a good guy who works professionally and is a valued member of the dressing room. The fact that this is now in question is incomprehensible for us at Dortmund and does not do Gio justice. Herc, Dortmund are backing Gio Reyna. What do you make of it?
What do I make of it? Mm-hmm. What are they supposed to say?
Nothing. They don't have to say anything.
Okay, let it grow. Let there be doubts about Gio.
Well, I think
Of course, you come to to Gio's defense. One, because he's your player, and two, because he's your asset.
Okay.
What did Dortmund do?
Yeah, they backed their asset.
What do they do?
They sell players.
They sell players.
Yeah. Okay, but to that end, like, Gio has come out in his Instagram statement and said, almost like, hey, I didn't want to talk about this. I don't even want to put this statement out there.
He did well.
Okay.
Did extremely well.
Totally. But by doing this, look, we're talking about it again. This gives legs to it. Dortmund definitely could have let it.
Let me ask you a question.
Could have let it be.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would you rather Gio let it be?
No. I think Gio, given what happened, had to address it and did well in the way he addressed it. But Dortmund could have just let sleeping dogs lie. No?
No, you back your player.
Okay.
Dortmund did well here.
Does this send a message to Gio?
As a staff, as a business, you did well here. As a staff, you did well because you backed your player. You're showing support for your player. Like, hey, this is a good kid.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what problems you have over there.
Right.
But he's a good kid. And as a organization who makes money off of selling players and good money, you're backing your product. You're saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with this product. Look, check under the hood. Everything's good here.
Right. What's more damaging to his value? Reports of bad behavior or the fact that he didn't really get minutes at the World Cup for a team in the United States that is good but not overwhelmingly deeply talented, and that's the ultimate showcase to boost your value.
I don't know if his value went down either way.
But it didn't go up. And had he had a good World Cup.
Right. That's true. It did not go up, but I wouldn't say his value would go down because he didn't do something with the U.S. men's national in the World Cup. The best football isn't played in the World Cup.
Right. But
it's played in the Champions League.
But we acknowledge that, like, think of James Rodriguez, no? Like, great World Cup.
And at Valencia, you get a massive sell. I understand this.
Right.
Yes. It could only help you. Certainly won't hurt you.
Okay.
Over club level.
Right. And he's probably not ready for a sale now anyway, right? He's still got another year.
I think Dortmund's ready to sell at any moment with any player. It all depends on the price, right? But this is part of the reason why they came out in his defense. This is your asset. This is your product. You want to take care of it. You also want to take care of his well-being mentally and also the perception of your asset amongst what is the market.
You know what we're going to find out? Because we've heard from people on the record, off the record, about the chip on the shoulder with Gio Reyna. Whenever we talk about him, that's kind of one of the default cliches that we hear. Watch out. Just the second half of this season at Dortmund, like, he could be a man on fire.
Ooh, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Let's hope he responds on the field. Listen, Gio, I am fully convinced, is a generational talent.
Yeah.
Generational talent. But don't leave it at that.
Yep. I mean, a lot of that comes down to health for him. I mean, that's been the one thing that's held him back.
Sure.
Yeah.
And now it's not health.
Yeah.
So take it into your own hands if you're on the field to make sure that this is an afterthought.
Right. Okay, so Gio Reyna definitely has a future with the national team. What about Tim Ream? Okay, why am I bringing up Tim Ream? Well, a few days ago now, Doug McIntyre of Fox Sports was reporting that the 35-year-old center back has no intention of retiring from international competition. Now, he'll be a few months shy of 37 in the summer of 2024. That, of course, the Copa America. He'd be 38 when the next World Cup kicks off in 2026. Herc, what do you think? Does Tim Ream still have a future with the U.S. men's national team?
Sure, at some stage.
Like 12 months ago, you didn't even think he had a future heading into this World Cup.
No, but he proved everybody wrong. And when I mean sure at some stage is because Greg Berhalter comes in and you still had Michael Bradley at some stage. You still had Josie Altidore at some stage. But the idea is to phase some of these players, and yes, Tim Ream out, because you want the next crop coming in. Tim Ream did very well in this World Cup, and he's done very well since Fulham has been promoted back into Premier League. He's back in the public eye. But the reality is, if there's a healthy Chris Richards and a healthy Miles Robinson, Tim Ream's probably not on this roster. That's a reality. Now, while Tim Ream was one of the best players for the U.S. men's national team, and I recognize that.
Yep. Played every minute.
Yeah. You want to build a core for the ultimate goal, which is 2026. He'll be 40 by then.
Right. Is there a value to, one, I know we've always talked about his age in the negative, but to having kind of that leadership?
I don't think there was enough leadership this go around.
There you go. And then beyond that, competition. Like, to your point about these other players, they're not yet starters in the Premier League. He's a left-footed center back. We know that those don't grow on trees. Whether it's Berhalter or the next coach, is there a value to just being like, hey, here's the standard. If you want this job, you got to beat this dude out.
Absolutely. But you got to make it that way, where if they get beat out, they're out. And it can't be with, like, the Mexican national team, how, well, there's certain players performing, but you're not even calling them in, and you're leaving these sacred cows, if you will, in play. And they're in play, and they're in play, and they're in play. There's no moving them. You're only blocking the next generation. Listen, I already told you. People hated seeing Michael Bradley and Josie Alter back with the U.S. men's national team.
After Cuba.
Whether it was Saracen or whether it was with Greg Berhalter. But they served a purpose until they were phased out, right? They served a purpose. So Tyler Adams, learning from briefly whatever interaction he had with Michael Bradley, I'm sure he would tell you, it served a purpose. Okay? That's how it goes. That's normally how it goes. This was an accelerated project for the U.S. men's national team under Greg Berhalter with the ultimate goal of being 2026. So don't say the ultimate goal is 2026 and then say, but we got a 40-year-old who's playing in the championship.
Okay, 2024, because this World Cup happens in the winter, is actually only 18 months away, that tournament.
Right.
What percentage you think...
2024 Copa America.
Yeah, what did I say?
World Cup.
Yes, of course, Copa America. What percentage chances you think he's still in the pool at that point?
Ooh, that would all depend on Tim Ream, on what level he's at.
Oh, so it doesn't depend on the other guys? Because what I was thinking is you were going to say it depends on...
No, that depends on Tim Ream.
Okay.
Because Tim Ream, let's say his level drops...
Then he's gone. No questions asked. You're even the other younger guys that haven't proved themselves.
Well, now, because if that's the case, that his level's dropped, you might as well go say, well, all right, I got to get these guys and get their level up. I got to make sure they're ready with experience and minutes leading up to what will be 2026. So that depends on Tim Ream, and I think that's the way people want it. Open market. Like, the best players should play. But if the ultimate goal was always 2026, having a player, albeit that was one of your better players in the World Cup, going on 40, if not over 40, come that tournament, listen, there's a place for him. I just don't know if he's gunning for that 2026 or if people think that's realistic, if it's a good idea.
Yeah, and the other point to be made there is there are no World Cup qualifiers, so it's going to be tough to get, like, Chris Richards' real big games.
That's a good point,
So
Seb.
2024 is like, those are your qualifiers in some sense to really blood those guys at that position.